Imagine being home alone, relaxing, thinking you're safe behind locked doors, when suddenly you hear a noise, a whisper, or see a shadow move. Your heart races as you slowly realize that you're not as alone as you thought. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to dive deeper into 5 of the most disturbing home alone horror stories. Being home alone is often seen as peaceful, but what happens when the safety of your home becomes an illusion? When the familiar turns into the unknown, and you find yourself questioning every noise, shadow, and silence. 1. The Silent Intruder. It was to be one of those quiet nights, just how Sarah liked them. Her house sat right on the outskirts of town, surrounded by heavy woods. There were no neighbors for miles. She had been living there alone for years. She liked being that isolated, yet somehow things were not right that night. The wind howled outside and tall trees cast ghostly shadows across walls. It was barely midnight when Sarah heard a soft knock on the door. She felt her blood freeze. She turned a deaf ear to it and thought it was her mind playing tricks on her. Then it came louder, more insistent. She went to the peephole and her heart pounded in her ears. Still, no one was there. She flicked on the porch light, confused to find muddy footprints to her door. But no one was outside. She shivered and went on to lock each of the windows and doors. She tried to call in the police. Even her phone was dead. Then lights flickered and went out, leaving the house plunged into total darkness. She was struck with panic when the back door started to creak. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen, hand trembling. Slowly approaching the source of the noise, she saw through the reflection in the window next to her that somebody was standing behind her. 1 inch away stood a figure in black, its features starkly white into a mask of evil. Screaming, she spun, tried to defend herself, but it was too late. The knife fell down from her hand, cold fingers wrapped around her throat. She struggled, but before she knew it, her world blurred, the darkness closing in as breath was stolen from her. What she saw last was that distorted smile as the figure leaned in, whispering something into her ear, before darkness overtook her. 2. The Whispering Shadows. As the night wore on, the house was eerily quiet. Jason sat alone in the thin glow of a single lamp. There was an uneasy calm. He was used to being alone. His parents were away for the weekend. He had tried to distract himself, first by putting on a movie, but the flicker of the TV seemed almost to imitate what was happening on the walls. Every time he looked off screen, the dark figures bothered him. An abrupt chill swept across the room. The temperature had dropped suddenly. He rose to his feet, heart pounding. It was like the very shadows pulsed with some sort of malignant rhythm. He came up to the window, hoping that a wash of fresh, cool air would take away the foggy feeling. But whatever was outside only increased his fear. Outside, it was an inky darkness, and he could make out the outline of a figure standing by the gate. It did not move. It stood still and watched. A faint sound like whispers filled the entire house. Whispers grew loud and began to turn into words, indistinguishable to Jason. Panic overcame him. He wheeled about to the room. The shadows were changed. They bore a contour almost human now. The lamp died and the room was blotted out by darkness. His breath accelerated as Jason made his way through the blackness of the house, desperate to find some sort of way out from underneath the crushing darkness. The whisper was growing in intensity. It was now the only sound. The next thing he knew, though, the darkness fell heavily upon him, and he felt an icy hand shoot deep into his arm, yanking him backward into the unforgiving darkness. It swallowed him whole, the whispers growing to a cacophony of tortured screams. Then it was dark, absolutely dark. It was as if Jason had finally become lost, alone, forever entombed in the whispering shadows. 3. The Terror in Basement. Angela's parents had left for the weekend, just themselves, a small vacation. It was a quiet and a quieting time. Then as night began to fall, there was an odd feeling. The house, usually so comforting, now seemed creepy, oppressing. She tried her best to discard that feeling and busied herself into the book she was reading, but all of a sudden, strange noises started to emanate from the basement. She told herself it was only the house settling. The noises grew progressively clearer. Shaking, Angela flipped up the lip of the toolbox and crawled into the darkness with the flashlight. The basement was dark. The air was cold and heavy. In the beam of her flash was an old dusty closet. The scraping came from behind it. It wasn't until she tried to pull the closet that her hand shook, mostly uncovering it, but also some kind of gaping hole cut out of the wall behind it. A hand, a pale, skeletal hand, clawing desperately, came from behind it. In her realization, the blood in Sarah's veins went cold. The hand wasn't trying to escape. It was trying to pull something in. She stumbled back, but with a cold gust of air, the door to the basement slammed shut. In panic, she pounded on the door, but now the basement got darker and colder. She heard whispers and laughter coming from inside the darkness. The terrors once unseen were now far too real. 4. The mysterious reflection. Maria had always liked her grandparents' farmhouse. She also liked the peace and quiet she got when her grandparents went on holiday and left her in charge, something she didn't have in her own, much smaller house. Once in the middle of dinner preparation, it struck her to go upstairs into the old attic, a forbidden place near which everybody called a warning. She could not control her curiosity. It was dusty inside, with old furniture, paintings, and boxes containing lost things. Among all that junk, there was an ornate antique mirror. The glass was dirty but beautifully carved into an intricate golden detail. To clean it off, Maria got a rag and soaped the glass. As she did, she felt her reflection looking queer in cleaning the mirror. The attic looked so much darker. Its features were twisted and warped in the mirror. She shook off the weird feeling in her gut as she finished cleaning and put the mirror back. When she got into bed that night, Maria thought she heard very faint noises coming from the attic, like the sound of someone moving about up there. She figured it was the house just settling and tried to ignore it. But as she turned out the lights and lay down, she just had this horribly unsettling feeling, like someone was watching her. That was when she had awoken in the dead of night to an awfully strange sight. The mirror swathed in cloth standing against her bedroom door. She could not think how to account for the reflection in that awful mirror, different from her room in some uneasy way. The movements of the shadows were as if on their own accord, and there was some dark figure standing in the corner of the room. Panicked, Maria turned on her bedside lamp, but the reflection in the mirror didn't budge. She ran out of the room, slamming the attic door behind her. The noises stopped, and she saw nothing of the mirror next morning. Her grandparents found the mirror in the attic on returning, as it always was, gathering dust and looking as if it had not been touched ever. They said it was of our family for generations, but did not say a word about its past. Maria never again stayed overnight in that house, stayed away from that attic, and avoided the reflection of that mirror. 5. The haunting of Hollow Creek. When a 22-year-old Jenna decided to spend a solitary winter break at her family's remote cottage in Hollow Creek, she surely had other plans. Instead, unspeakable terror awaited her. On the third night, with unnerving thumps in the basement, Jenna made her way down those creaky stairs guided by nothing but a flickering flashlight. The musty, cluttered basement was old furniture, seeming to breathe in with an oppressive chill. When she stepped up to the old wooden trunk standing in a corner, it suddenly turned cold, and her breathing misted. The flashlight flickered and died just as Jenna's fingers touched the trunk's surface. Panic surged as darkness enveloped her. Desperate, she tried her phone, but it had also died. A whisper, soft yet chilling, floated through the void. "I've been waiting." Her heartbeat quickened. The whisper came again, louder, mingled with shuffling footsteps. Something icy leaned in close. Jenna's skin crawled as fingers that could only be ghostly brushed her arm. Sudden light from the ancient furnace glared up the basement, revealing them. Ghostly figures with twisted, tortured faces emerging from the shadows to reach out with their translucent hands. Their mouths opened in silent screams. Into this darkness, Jenna screamed, but those figures sent chills down to the bones as their arms constricted around her. The next day, when her parents went downstairs in the basement, it was all empty, and Jenna was never found. The cottage has always stayed abandoned since then, with people whispering about a girl who just vanished into thin air, a senseless aura of chill and ghostly existence at Hollow Creek. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more creepy stories. Which of these stories gave you chills? Let us know. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes you are not as much alone as you think.